it's hard for me to think of one that I can remember that's worse than this. Like, this team was expected to actually like make noise at this tournament. This was supposed to be the like coming out party for the quote unquote golden generation, and they bomb out in the group stage after losing to Panama. I mean, I don't know if it's actually the biggest debacle in history, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely up there.
I still think, I'm going to go out and say that it is just because I'll stand on the business of it. Like, it really does come down to the fact that team that didn't make the World Cup, a bunch of young players, a mixture of players, it was this like, we're not really sure what we are, where we are. The expectations were that you make it to the World Cup, but the expectations past that were like, we have a lot of great young players. This is going to be great eventually. This is, oh yeah, we actually legitimately have a chance to contend for this. Every single pundit that I was listening to was telling me this golden generation is going to make waves at this Copa America, and this is going to be the time where they set the stage for the 26 World Cup, which they have a good chance of contending for. That didn't happen, and I've never seen more pundits licking their own wounds. I saw Alexi Lawless live on Fox doing a 360, pretending like he didn't just pick them to be in the final against Argentina. I have not seen U.S. men's national team fans this back down to earth ever in my life. Like, there was insane takes, but I saw a lot of like genuinely like, oh wow, no, this is just like not really a good team.
Yeah, so that's actually a good segue into the next question that I wanted us to discuss, which is this golden generation overrated? You know, Stu Holden had a quote on the broadcast right after the game where he basically said something, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he basically said, don't call them the golden generation until they've won something, which for all the talk about how talented this player pool is and how it's the most talented of all time. And you've got all these guys playing at these big clubs, some of whom are actually playing big roles at these big clubs. They have not accomplished anything to like measure up to the way that they're talked about. And I do feel like too, like, doesn't it feel like they kind of carry themselves and talk about themselves in a way that makes them feel like they think that they've arrived sometimes already. And it's like, you guys have not really won anything. And you just bombed out of the Copa in really terrible fashion. So I don't know if I think they're overrated in the sense that I do think that the talent level that gets talked about with the core group of players, I think that's real. Like, if you go down the list, Christian Pulisic, he had a great season for AC Milan.
Breakout.
And he's had stretches of play in the Premier League with Chelsea where he looked like a really, really good player in the Prem. Weston McKennie's he was one of Juventus's best players. Like, he started week in, week out, and like everything that, I didn't watch every Juventus game, but everything that I heard and read about it was that he was considered like a solid, good player for them. And I also think that he's shown to be a standout at the international level as well. So I don't know, you might not rate Weston. I still rate Weston pretty high. Gio's an interesting one because I've been as big a fan of Gio as anyone. I've been really high on what I think his potential ceiling could be. He's had some fantastic individual moments where you can really see that he's a very, very talented player. But when you kind of combine the fact that he basically had a bust of a season this year at the club level for Nottingham Forest, and all the injury issues that he's had, has missed really lengthy stretches of time. In this game, I didn't really think he did a heck of a lot. There wasn't really those like wow moments that we've seen from Gio. I hate to say it because remember when we recorded the podcast after Nations League last year, how hyped I was, and I was talking about, I can see the path to this team actually making good on the potential that we all see. And I think I couched it and I said that it wasn't guaranteed that they were going to get there, but I could at least see the path based on just how great we looked in that Nations League. And I think until this group of players actually has the results that measure up with the potential that gets talked about, I think you kind of do have to call them overrated. I think you do.
Yeah, I agree 100% with basically everything you said. I wanted to bring up this Tyler Adams quote. He said, "When I'm healthy and playing consistently, I'm one of the best midfielders at what I do in the world." That's delusion, buddy. I'm sorry.
That's what I'm talking about when I was talking about like how they talk about themselves in a kind of inflated type of way compared to what they actually are. Like, yeah, like Tyler Adams,
buddy, your ass.
he probably, I mean, I don't agree with that. I think Tyler, he's the captain of the team, and he also he's been good at the club level as well.
That's fine. Whatever. Maybe I'm just being bitter because like
you're right. You are right though that he's definitely kind of exaggerating his status on the world stage.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
who really. If you ask the average soccer fan, like anywhere in the world, who would you rate as one of the best midfielders in the world? Like, I don't think Tyler Adams' name is probably coming up for all the good things that he's done in his career and for the U.S. I don't think anyone. That's kind of a crazy quote.
You know, like respectfully, like Bournemouth and Leeds, I think the problem is when you're called the golden generation over and over again, and you've blown smoke up your ass for the last 6 years from people like Alexi Lawless and Stu Holden and all of these people who have way too much like personal pride in the game. It's gonna like change the way that you see yourself. It's going to change the way that you approach matches. It's going to change the way that you like exist, right? Like in the last Copa America in 2016, when the US were in there, for me, what I remember, the media was like, "Oh, that's so sick. They're playing. That's cool. Sick. Maybe they can get out of the group stage. That's cool." They finished 4th. And like that team was like 90% MLS players.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sorry, like
the team was better when it was just the MLS guys. There's a lot of layers to it, but I guess just wrapping up the point on what you were just talking about, like I guess what I would hope comes from this is just a dose of humility, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe a realization and an acknowledgement that we are not necessarily as good as we think we are, and we haven't proven anything yet. And we paid the price in this scenario.
Before we move on to, I want to say, like, respectfully, Jordan Morris has scored more goals than that entire roster.
If Jordan Morris and Christian Roldan were on the team, maybe they make it out.
But there are people,
stage.
yeah, there's people and there's American players in the MLS that 100% should be getting looks and should be involved in this because you need a mix of that player. That's all that I'm trying to get at. And I think the idea that we constantly have to live up to this golden generation, this Euro talent, these like exported superstars, it's like you're ignoring people who play valuable roles, who have actual experience playing against the players that you're going to be facing in CONCACAF. And if we continue to participate in Copa America, CONMEBOL,